back and welcome to another movie reviews video. As always, I will leave timestamps in the description box below so that if there's a particular movie you would like to hear my thoughts on, you can skip to that one rather than sitting through all 6 of these movies. So yes, in the past 2 weeks I've seen 6 movies at the cinema. I have seen 4 new releases, 1 older film and 1 special event type thing, which will become clear when I start talking about it. So the first film I saw was a showing of The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I have not seen. Yes, it's another one of those apparently classic Halloween Christmas movies that I should have seen and haven't seen. I am glad that I've seen it. I realised that I had heard quite a lot of the music before. I didn't realise that I knew some of the songs or kind of was aware of some of the characters. I think I've probably heard them at Disney at Christmas and that's where I know the songs from. I wasn't wowed by it. I know a lot of people are super into it and are massive fans of it, but I'm glad I've seen it. But yeah, I wasn't wowed by it. It was a private screening for me, which was quite nice. One of 2 private screenings I've had this week. But yeah, I like the music. I understand why there's debate as to whether it is a Christmas film or a Halloween film. I don't know. I would tend to probably sway towards the side of Christmas, even though it's scary. I mean, if Die Hard can be a Christmas film, then presumably A Nightmare Before Christmas can be a Christmas film. Anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on that one. I wasn't wowed, but I'm glad I've seen it. Wouldn't go and rush and see it again, but I do like the music, and I've definitely heard the music before. Then the next film I saw was The Nutcracker and the Four Realms, and complete opposite. I was just blown away by this film. I had such a good time seeing it. It's quite long for a Disney/children's film, but it was just so good. It's got so much of the original music in, and it's got actual ballet dancers in as well, which is great, but it's not as Nutcracker-ish as the actual Nutcracker. There's a whole different storyline, and it's got that classic Disney feel. It definitely feels like a Disney film, but then it's got moments that surprise you and moments that kind of go in a direction that you wouldn't expect. I just really enjoyed what was going on the screen. It was really impressive on the screen. If you get a chance to see it in the cinema, or specifically a Dolby cinema where it's, you know, high definition, then do go and see it, because it definitely is made for the big screen. And yeah, the music was great, the storyline was fun. Jack Whitehall and Omid Jalali are just so funny in it. I didn't know they were going to be in it, and they popped up and it was like, oh, this is hilarious. Yeah, it was just so much fun. I definitely recommend it. It's quite scary in parts, but yeah, lots of surprises, lots of twists and turns, good music, and a good kind of homage to the original ballet as well, which was really good. As I say, I may go and see it in 3D just because it is showing in 3D, and I would quite like to make the comparison between the HD Dolby and seeing it in 3D, because I could see bits that were obviously kind of meant for 3D. It's also showing in IMAX, you know, options. Then I went to see Tea with the Dames, which is a documentary that kind of does exactly what it says on the tin. I believe it was released in the UK as There's Nothing Like a Dame, as the song goes, and then was retitled for its US release, because it was released in the UK in May, but it just came out here at the end of October, which is when I saw it. But yeah, it was everything I was expecting. You get kind of the highlight reel if you've seen the trailer. It's one of those. I really enjoyed hearing them talk with each other in conversation, and they were very candid and very open, and kind of didn't hold back, which I really liked. And they, you know, made light of the fact that they were all getting old and not being cast, and they all kind of like made fun of the fact that they were only offered a part if Judi Dench had turned it down. She kind of refuted that fact, but the actual shooting and editing, it felt a little bit amateur. It felt like they showed some cutaways to either shots of the women walking in the grounds of the house or looking at photos in the house, or they showed clips of their work. And I thought that those clips would relate to what they were going to talk about next, but they didn't really. I'm not sure why the clips were there. It was a bit like they said, okay, we have to follow the formula of every 10 minutes we show a clip, or every 10 minutes we cut away to someone looking nostalgically out towards the field or whatever. The photos that they kind of clipped in were more relevant, but yeah, some of that bit felt a little bit amateur. I don't know, it kind of broke it up. But the whole cinema was laughing at several points, so you know, if you see this one, that you're going to get some laughs out of it, as well as some things you probably didn't know about these 4 actresses. I'm not sure if it's already out on the likes of Netflix and things in the UK. If it was released in May, it possibly will be, so you might be able to catch it in the comfort of your own home. I don't think it's on in the cinema. It had a very short run here, even though it was fairly busy in the cinema that I went to see, so if it's still playing where you are, I definitely recommend it if you're interested in those 4 actresses. Then, of course, I went to see Bohemian Rhapsody. Again, I went to see this in Dolby, so I got the great visual and the great sound. It was just really good. I found it really hard to get my head around the fact that the actor playing Brian May wasn't Brian May, because to me he just looked like Brian May. And then the scenes with Live Aid, the Live Aid concert, just felt like I was there at the concert. I think they did a really good job of that. I've watched a lot of interviews and kind of small kind of making of things on YouTube since watching the movie, which shows you I really like the movie, and lots of them talk about how they pulled off the Live Aid concert, and it was just fantastic. It's like the last few scenes of the film are just like being at a concert, and yeah, and it ends on a high note, which is nice. I think some people are a little worried that it's going to be sort of sad or downbeat towards the end, but it definitely ends on a high note, I would say. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. If you have the option to see this as a double bill with A Star Is Born, so you could see the 2 of them back to back, whichever way around you do it, oh my goodness, that would be so much fun. I'm going to try and engineer to see if I can make that happen, because I think that would just be like, I mean, it would be sensory and emotional overload, but it would be awesome at the same time. So yeah, definitely recommend it. Then I went to see Beautiful Boy, which is based on the sort of memoir of David Sheff. His book is called the same, it's called Beautiful Boy. And then you you have another book by Nick Sheff, which this film isn't based on that book, but if you're wanting to read around it, you've got books by both of them. This is very much from David's point of view, and is the story of him and the effect that his son being a drug addict had on him and his family and his relationship with his son, and outlines the things he did to try and help his son and the way he kind of interacts with Nick's mother, as well as his own wife, who's also a mother to Nick. And it just really highlights just how far a parent's love can stretch. It's a fairly depressing film. It's not really upbeat at any point, so make sure you're feeling strong before you go into it. Practice some self-care there. And yeah, I didn't get to the end of the book before seeing the film, because I kind of didn't want to spoil the ending for myself. I know I always say, oh, I'll read the book first, but I've read some of the book and not finished it because, yeah, I didn't want to spoil the ending and I didn't know how the film was going to end. Yeah, it's very quiet and very slow paced, but the acting is absolutely fantastic. I, felt the pain just oozing off the screen. It was almost a private showing. There was me and one other person. But yeah, if you are interested or you have read the book, I think the film definitely does the book justice. So definitely get yourself out to see the film, but make sure you are feeling strong beforehand. And I did cry. And then I went to see a showing of the musical Everybody's Talking About Jamie. So I saw this in London back in May and loved it. I was lucky enough I entered the front row lottery, so I got a front row seat for £20, which was great. And then my cinema ticket would have cost me $15, so it was similar prices. And this was actually a screening of a recording from when they were in Sheffield, because they were in Sheffield first and then they transferred to the West End. But I do believe that there are some showings out there which were filmed at the Apollo in London, because of Google, I know that. But yeah, it was great. It was so nice to be able to see it again, because obviously I saw it in London. I don't know when I'm going to be back in London where I have time to see a show, so I don't know if I would get to see it again on stage. So it was really wonderful being able to see the stage show in the cinema. When you see these live things, they also include the interval. So if a film had an interval or a show has an interval, they do always include the interval. So I took my program with me so that I could read it in the interval, and I did. The cinema didn't start the show on time, so I was very lazy and I phoned them because I was the only person in the cinema, and they started the show for me as soon as I phoned them, so that's okay. But yeah, I don't think that the cinema did a very good job of publicising it, because I was the only one in there, and they had another day of showing this film, this musical. Again, 2 showings, same as the day I saw it, and I kind of clicked on to see if there were seats available, and again it was empty cinemas, but I only saw it through kind of searching through what was on that day at the cinema. So if they are showing it in a cinema near you, please go and see it, because it is such a fantastic musical. And like me, who knows when you'll get the chance to go and see it in the West End of London again. It was just great. I did have this surreal thing where I'd spent 3 hours of watching a musical where they all sound like me, because obviously it's set in Sheffield, and then I came out of, being completely immersed in that, into the foyer of the cinema, and there was, people with American accents. It was very weird that they didn't all sound like me, like they had done in the screen. I was like, oh yes, I'm not in London watching this on the stage, or I'm not in Sheffield watching this on the stage where people sound quite like me. I'm in Denver. So yeah, as I say, mostly recommendations there. Nightmare Before Christmas has been out for ages, so you've probably seen it already. It's just me that hasn't seen it. Please let me know in comments if there's any new releases you would like to hear my thoughts on, or if you would like me to do a comparison of one of these in regular screening format or 3D screening format versus where I saw it in Dolby, or go and see the IMAX version and see if it's the same thing. Yeah, I'm always happy to take requests to go to the cinema. Who wouldn't be? Yeah, I will hopefully be back with another movie reviews video on Sunday as scheduled, and I will have book videos for you on Wednesday and Friday this week. So make sure you subscribe so that those land right in your subscription feed. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and as I say, let me know in comments if there's anything you want to hear my thoughts on. I will see you with another video on Wednesday. Bye!